Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of AIMBOT with your boy, Mark Reed. And here we are in the reading room. This morning, I feel fantastic. I feel good. Sorry, I was running a little bit late. I was just refilling my caffeinated beverage. I hope you are well. AIMBOT, am I morally bankrupt or them? What are we doing? We're essentially applying some kind of morality to everyday situations on the Reddit post of Am I the Arsehole? Which is all fun and games, and it is, as I've always said, it is consensual and solicited moral judgments. So please keep your moral judgments to solicited or consensual, or make it something that matters. You know, if somebody does something very trivial, try not to judge them. You know, if it doesn't harm anybody or it has no, I suppose that's the only way you can know if it harms somebody, right? If it's good or bad. But yeah, it's very interesting. I was sort of a tiny bit late, but I was watching Legal Eagle on the Doge, who runs Doge in America, and it was fascinating, absolutely fascinating that nobody can work this out. That, of course, they pointed at Elon Musk. Apparently, he's not the one running it. They pointed at some random woman who's on vacation in Mexico from the previous department that it was. It's absolutely fascinating that the US has got a government department that nobody knows who's in charge. Like, nobody knows. It's wild. Not even the lawyers for the government know who's in charge of this department. Is that wild to anybody else? Is that just insane to anybody else? Like, how can you have a government department that has not only no clear chain of command or executive structure, but nobody knows what the executive structure is? It's absolutely amazing. And welcome back to all of my favorites. You probably noticed something new about the stream, and that is that StreamYard added chat on the side. So I'm very excited. I'm very excited that they're showing comments. So now I can just read the screen and go through your comments on the moral ambiguity of situations instead of actually having to, look at somewhere else, which is fantastic. I love it. So I love that there's comments on the screen. I can highlight them as well, which is good. I'm very happy. This is good. This is really good. Latest from my side, I've got a few things coming up, and I hope you can join me for that. I do have my member stream tomorrow, which I'm very excited about. I am really looking forward to it because I did start sort of playing Astroneer, which was incredibly relaxing last time round, and we had a few laughs and a few things and discussed a few things. So if you are a member, come on and drop in. We'll just be talking just random stuff, movies, stuff like that, movies, games, just relax. It's a relaxed stream that I run every fortnight. And it's very strange. There's something weird happening with Think Institute. If you've seen any of the videos of that, they kind of posted a message that was very ambiguous, and I've got to get to them to email. Hopefully, I can get a response from Joel over there, but I will sort of kick that off with maybe a video, depending on what he says. But I want an opportunity for him to respond. So look forward to that. I really want to highlight some of the weird stuff that's happening on some of these Christian channels. Some very odd stuff. Some very sort of. I think what's happening is that. Some of these channels on YouTube, they have editors or maybe people doing their emails or their comments or something, and they seem like they're sort of, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of stuff. They look like they're split personalities because maybe one hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing. But I will email Joel before I put that out and see what his response is. But I do have some sort of receipts downloaded, to sort of look. I can be both. I can look. Okay. For a start, I can be but look, I can be happy and pissed off at the same time. Look, that's entirely possible, right? Have you ever like been outraged by something and very happy to be so? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe. How dare you? I can do both. I can feel good being pissed off at something. Like really. Look, haven't you ever gone on like a rant against a movie? Like you've watched a movie and it's so ridiculously bad, but you're actually happy doing this rant kind of thing. Have you ever been there? Like you're doing this rant against some random movie. Um, I think I had that rant against there was some time travel movie. I think it was like the the person was their own father or something, and my rant was just I was so happy just ranting against this. It was terrible. Mm, but I'm happy today. Braxton's book? I don't know who that is. Who is Braxton's? I don't know. But welcome, Shaken Fist. And I want to do a few shout outs because welcome to the community here. Lots of love to all you guys out there. I feel like you are the best. I was in Maya's stream recently talking about I can't remember his name. Was it Bob Price? Some random old guy that apparently is absolutely awful. And maybe that's a good tangent to go on before I start the stream. Do we have to accept atheists in the atheist community that are absolutely awful? I'm talking about sort of Pine Creek Doug, who's very, very outspokenly right wing. I'm talking about apparently Bob Price, who apparently is racist and sexist and just an old bigot. He's a bigot, like absolutely bigoted. Um, I don't think we do. But what I want to make clear is that they're still atheists, right? There's still an atheist in the atheist sort of association. We cannot say, hey, they're not an atheist because they're a complete asshole kind of thing. That's not um that's not that's not a thing, right? That's not a thing. Um I, what we want to make clear is that our community is a secular humanist community. Um that I would rather we frame it as we're humanists rather than we're atheists as far as the people that we let into our community. Bigotry, intolerance, oppression, they are not welcome here. They're not. Because I don't just run an atheist community, I'm also a secular humanist. And yes, my channel is called Mark Reed Atheism, but I have a certain standard where my morality is concerned. And if you don't fit it, you're not welcome here. Go and why are you hurting people in the first place by doing all of this stuff is awful, absolutely awful. But left-handed Jedi, so good to see you. You're awesome, and thank you for being here. Who else is here? Andrew. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Big Bad Mama, lots of love, Mama. Deviant Outcast, always happy to see you, always. Who else? Shaking Fist and Tori. Good to see Tori. Actually, Tori's been cropping up everywhere around me lately. I don't know. I might be following them. I'm not 100% sure. Please forgive me if I am. It's entirely coincidental. Or maybe it's just lucky coincidence. I don't know. But thank you so much for joining me today. But there's I guess that while we call ourselves an atheist community, we're not only an atheist community. I think that when you say, "Hey, we're atheists," there's a certain segment of people that's like, "Oh, well, as long as I'm atheist, you'll just accept me." No, no, you cannot be causing harm of the type that bigotry and intolerance does in the world, and just be admitted into any community you want just because it's an atheist community. I don't think that's a thing. I think that we've got to hold a higher standard than that. So I'm right on board with Maya and Jay. I get it. Um, yeah. Oh, welcome, Armchair. Slightly behind, but a recent rant I enjoyed going therapist. Oh, okay. Yeah, you're Monica. I look. I was never a big fan of Friends. I was ranting that they were right. Monica. Was that the who was that? Courtney whatever. Courtney Cox character? Was that Monica? I don't know. I never watched Friends. Look, um, you're pissed that they were right. Okay, fair call. Um, look, I think that pigeonholing people into this. I mean, I get it. You're similar to this person, but it doesn't. It doesn't define who you are. Mm. I never really watched Friends as well. I was watching a show called News Radio. Um, at that time. I thought news radio was way better. However, it took a downturn in a serious way when one of the stars exited in very ominous and terrible circumstances. Apparently, his wife ended him because she was in being supported um, her drug habit was being supported by one of the cast members. Just wild stuff, but it definitely was an awesome show. And yes, that was the birth of Joe Rogan. You are correct. That was Joe Rogan. So uh yeah, Andy Dick, that's the one. Yeah, so Joe Rogan started on news radio, where he played an electrician who was all into conspiracy theories. Funnily enough, like it was wild. It was absolutely right, wild, absolutely wild. You got that from your brother and cousin when the show was originally airing. Okay, well, I don't know what Monica actually was like, so I've got no idea what that's like, Joe. I'm just gonna think of you as Joe. How about that? So let's get into aimbotting. Yeah, let's do it. Why not? I think I've had my rant, but I really highly recommend the Legal Eagle video that's just come out on who's running Doge because it's just a big nobody knows. Nobody freaking knows. It's absolutely insane. Yeah, it's weird because I'm not like I've not really um I've not really gone on Mythvision a lot, I must admit. I haven't seen a lot of their episodes. I wasn't aware who this person, so I was just oblivious to the whole thing kind of thing. And so, but I do trust Maya and Dr. J, and, Kip's been talking about it as well, and I do trust these people and what they say. So, it's very disheartening. Although I know that they do criticize me for debating with horrible people. Um, I I have really struggled with that. I really have tossed and turned about it a lot and whether I should debate certain people. But at the end of the day, um, I'm not going on there to debate. I'm there to debate religion. Basically, is what I'll do, or science. One of the two. There's certain people I won't debate. Like I won't debate Kent Hovind. He is a convicted criminal until his appeal comes through, and I don't know what's happening with that. Um, I have no idea why he's allowed to roam free while being convicted of domestic violence. So I cannot, in good conscience, like engage with that person. But um, I'm certainly not going to have a debate about whether you know um, black people deserve to be platformed or something. That isn't something that's debatable. That's not something that I see as debatable at all. Whether people deserve rights, I don't think is debatable. I don't think that's something that we can really debate. But whether there's a God, I think that's debatable. Like I'm happy to. It's kind of inconsequential, although I still do think it makes a difference. But there's certain things I definitely wouldn't. And there's certain people I wouldn't have on my channel, but I would go and debate them on another channel, an independent channel. So for instance, there was what's his name that I debated, Hake, and he had some awful takes. I wouldn't have him on my channel. There's no way. But I did debate him on Modern Day Debate, and I get people are very critical of that, but I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. No, that's fine, Tori. I get you. You're always welcome. Look, no compulsion, no onus on you. Life happens in the background. I totally get it. I'm not expecting anything from anybody. It is just, I'm not going to be expecting people to do anything. It's fine. Um, and it's weird because I sort of got into debate to just challenge ideas and have some fun and things like that, and sort of it's very odd people going, well, now you've got to distinguish between those who I can debate and those I can't, and I feel pretty ill-equipped to do so. I'm usually the last to know when there's some controversy on. I usually am oblivious to controversy because I really don't seek out drama. I don't actively look for drama. I don't pay attention to rumors. My mind seems very oblivious to rumors floating around. I mean, every workplace I've been in, I'll be the last to know any kind of rumors going on. I seem I don't know. I'm just not somebody that sort of follows that stuff, or people don't confide in me. I don't know what it is, but I'm the last to know any of that stuff going on. Mm. We stand lurkers. Yeah, yeah, I get you. I get you. We stand lurkers. Lurkers are always welcome. But I'm just saying, like, if oh, bronchitis, that sucks. I've had bronchitis before. That sucks ass. Like, seriously, it's that wheezy stuff that really makes me upset. It's not cool. Oh, hi Beck. How you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you, mate. Uh, Always a pleasure, Beck. But yeah, I mean, I don't. It's not like I want to cause drama by having a debate with someone that's controversial. It's just, usually I go in and I'm oblivious to it. Like I'm completely oblivious to it. Um, Absolutely ridiculous. Okay, let's get started. Your auto corrupt, yeah, yeah. Let's see. Share screen. But we are here to aimbot. What is aimbot? Okay, we're going to be doing some moral judgments from Reddit's Am I the Arsehole? So basically, we're asking, am I morally bankrupt? Is that something that's happening? Um, Am I the asshole? And I have read, I have watched, sorry, Pinworm's. Oh, that chat is kind of blocking the writing. Let me tell me if it's not okay. I'll just move it down a bit. Murky Carry first up. Am I the asshole for cancelling my financial support for my son's wedding after his fiance catfished him to test his loyalty? That's weird. I don't know. I watched a video on like how to spot if these posts are AI generated, and mm, well, get well soon, Tori. Get well soon, mate. My son, 23, got engaged a few months ago. You know, after his fiance catfished him. Yeah, I don't. Am I the asshole for canceling my financial support for your son's wedding after his fiance cat? I think that the son should be standing up for himself and saying, "Hey, that's not cool. That's not cool." Like, is it okay to pretend to be someone to test someone's loyalty? No, absolutely not. Like that sucks. Um, Yeah, it's weird. Like if a guy was doing that, I would be just as critical as if a girl's doing it. Like really, we shouldn't be doing that to one another. That will just cause resentment. Um, Canceling your financial woman. Okay, my son, 23, got engaged a few. Oh, let's go into it. Uh, my son, 23. That's pretty young though. It's pretty young to get married. I suppose it's not too bad. My son 23 got engaged a few months ago. Recently admitted to me that he had been texting a girl he met on Tinder. That alone already shocked me. He's engaged, and that's obviously not acceptable behavior. But here's the twist: the girl on Tinder was actually his fiancée. She made a fake account to test. Hang on, hang on, hang on, hang on, hang on, hang on, hang on. How isn't Tinder like random matches? Look, I've never been on Tinder. I got to admit, I don't even know how it works. Like I gotta admit, um, I don't. Yeah, it's the swiping. It just like it creates a profile and you just swipe left and right. So you're saying, hang on a second, hang on. So you're saying she created a fake profile and just relied on it randomly matching to him. I Yeah, but as far as I know, it's random, right? You would have to just have the profile come up randomly, um, based on location, right? What, you set it to, like, in the same house or something? What are we talking about here? Um, I don't know, like, it just seems weird that you'd create a profile, have all of these guys come up. Was she basically saying no to all of them? And then saying yes to him when he came up? Is this a thing people do? This sounds weird. This sounds weird. Um, but here's the twist: the girl on Tinder was actually his fiancée. She made a fake account to test whether it'd say loyal. Yes, what my son did with messed up, but creating a whole fake account, fake profile to trap your partner, that's manipulation. If you should have to run sting operations to trust your fiance, maybe you shouldn't be getting married. After learning this, I told my son I wouldn't be paying for the wedding anymore. I don't want to support a marriage that already starts with lies and games from both sides. Some people in the family say that I'm overreacting and punishing both of them. What's your opinion? Oh, I don't know about this one. Oh, okay. When a post is in poo mode, only users with enough subreddit comment calm will be able to post. That's okay. I'm not posting. Proctologist only orifice. Oh, guys, seriously. Um, some posts attract a disproportionate volume of rule breaking comments. Okay. Uh okay. So what seems weird is um that she made a post. Like, so he's probably upset that she tried to test him. When he flirted back, she confronted him. Uh yeah. I Okay. Wait. So he is going on Tinder and cheating on his presumably monogamous relationship, since she's um confronting him about it, and she is running a catfish to see if he's actually going to be loyal. So she doesn't trust him, and he's untrustworthy, and the wedding is still going ahead. Really? I Okay. I can't say that he's the asshole here. I mean, let's just presume this is true. Okay, so it's kind of weird, but let's just presume that this did actually happen. It just seems weird to me that you'd put a Tinder profile up, sort of, and not match with anybody until you find your fiance in order to. But then again, I don't know anything about Tinder. Maybe it's easier than I think. Maybe it is easier than I think. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I'm like, sorry, I'm a boring person. Never used Tinder in my life. Um, maybe it's me. Maybe I should be. Maybe I should go out and catfish somebody. I don't know. Maybe I should go on Tinder and search for my wife. I have no idea. You know what? That's never gonna happen. I don't think Morton. Um, she made a fake kid. You know what? I kind of think that the person, the parent had a um I mean, it's not only that they're canceling the financial support for their son because it like she created a fake account to test his loyalty. Why was he on there in the first place? I don't understand. Why was he like, I'm so baffled. I am so baffled. Like, it isn't just because like, what I really take exception to is they're basically saying, "Oh, well, she tested his loyalty. How dare she?" What about him being unloyal in the first place? What the hell? Was the poster whoops. Uh-oh. Right, for withdrawing financial support for the wedding. You know what? I kind of I kind of think that they've got a point. Like, um, as a parent, I mean, you don't mind contributing to a wedding, but like, how long is this marriage going to last? Don't know. You shouldn't be obliged to if you think that already one person is looking to cheat. Why else would you be on Tinder? 2 seconds in, like you haven't even been married yet. Poster was correct. Poster was incorrect. I'm just going to do up the things now. I must admit, I've been kind of no one was incorrect, and everyone was incorrect. You know what? I don't see this person like number one. It is their choice whether they do it, right? Just because you're a parent doesn't mean you have to contribute to somebody's wedding. You know what? Nobody contributed to Lynn and my wedding. Like, nobody paid for it. It wasn't a thing. Um, I mean, come on. Like, it is your money, and if you think that somebody is um being absolutely horrible and they're not even married yet, that's the thing. That's the thing. They're not even married yet. I can't get over that. Like, I do you need marriage counsel if you need marriage counseling before you get married, it might be time to, like, hold off. I mean, yeah, maybe if they go to marriage counseling and stuff, but let's see what the Redditors say. Uh, Not the arsehole. Sorry, but your son being on a dating website while planning a wedding while his fiance was tricking him. Sorry, but that doesn't sound like a healthy relationship. Yeah, I kind of agree. Yes. Um, hmm. And honestly, if the girl is smart, she should break it off, as it shows that your son isn't loyal, again, because of being on a dating app. Yeah, it does sound like a bit of toxic behavior from both sides. Look, I'm totally leaning towards not the arsehole because really, I would say everyone's an arsehole, but the poster hasn't really done anything wrong. They're just looking at this relationship that their son is in, going, man, this absolutely sucks, and you want me to pay for the wedding. Uh, you know, it kind of reminds me of those people that want sort of one last fling before they get married, and it's kind of like, that never stops with just one last fling before you get married. If you can't be faithful to your fiance, it's not going to last, years into your marriage. It just isn't. If that isn't something that you want, unless there is an agreement between the two that they are allowed to doubt outside the relationship, it's a big red flag. Yeah, and if they have an agreement, totally understandable. Hey, you do you. That's fine. But that doesn't sound like, if that was the situation, she wouldn't be going and confronting him about it, kind of thing. Talk to your son about that if he really wants to get married, because if he is disloyal now, why does he want to get married? Divorce is expensive. Yes, divorces are terrible. If you're going to get divorced, probably not a great idea to get married in the first place. Like, seriously, the marriage costs a lot of money. Even if it's a small thing, it still does cost a fair bit of money. Just booking a venue and things like that costs money, and the divorce will cost even more. So, if they aren't sure, just hold off. Like, be sure before you do. Wow. Okay. Much of the time ends in a worse condition. Well, I'm not sure about that one, Chief, but, I don't know. I don't know. Okay, my mouse is being stupid again. All right. She obviously had a reason to suspect something was going on behind her back, and she was correct. Why is an engaged man on Tinder in the first place? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I got married before Tinder was a thing. I probably got married before Grindr was a thing, to be honest. Well, I got I was in a de facto marriage, I guess. So, de facto or common law marriage is when you live with somebody, but you're not technically married under state sort of. You don't have the marriage license and marriage thing and stuff. But uh, if I was on Tinder, then I'm obviously not that interested in the marriage. I don't know. It's very strange. Um, Not the asshole withdrawing financial support, but they should not be getting married. Well, that's up to them, but you don't have to support them in that. You don't have to give them financial support for that, right? Like, that is something that if you don't believe it's going to be a strong relationship and will end fast, then hey, I think it's more than reasonable to um to say, hey, I'm not going to financially support it. You do seem to have more anger at the girlfriend than at your son. Yeah, and that's an interesting take. Yeah, I agree. If she was your daughter and told you she found evidence suggesting her fiance was on Tinder looking for hookups, would you still think so harshly of her? Probably not. Probably not. And yeah, someone was right. She absolutely doesn't seem trustworthy. She seems to know that he's not trustworthy in the first place. But I think that if you are getting to the point of, like, you don't trust your fiance enough that you've got to catfish him, I think that that's a problem in the first place. That's a real problem in the first place. You should be able to trust your fiance. If you can't, you need to get some kind of sort of, talk with them, or have some sort of counseling to be in a place to be able to trust them, because you know, obviously knew something was wrong. Not the arsehole, but you seem more unhappy with her than him. Yeah, which is unfortunate. Yeah. I don't agree with how she did it, but apparently she had a good cause. I doubt her catfish is the amazingly the only girl he was contacting. Yeah. He doesn't seem to get offended. He doesn't get to be offended if she caught him doing wrong. Sounds like he is especially not ready for marriage. Yeah, I'm going to say everyone is incorrect. Like, seriously, the poster is incorrect for blaming the girl as well. Like, saying, "Oh, I know he's done wrong, but she catfished him." It's like, geez, everyone sucks. Everybody is terrible. Like, that is a good point. Yeah, I'm going to change. I don't think not the asshole. I think that everyone sucks. Like, seriously. I'm glad you aren't paying for the wedding. Your son was clearly cheating to begin with. The girls had a lucky escape from you, I'd say. She probably set it up because she knew he was on the dating site and needed proof to leave him. Why are you so focused on what she did wrong? You should be focused on the sorry ass excuse for a son. Wow. Reddit, calm down. Not the asshole, because that poor girl needs to leave your cheating, lying son. Okay, so I think everyone sucks. Just because the guy should be sort of saying, hey, should I should I be paying because you know does your son deserve to be paid for? No, no. Okay, we've got an update here. All right. Dear users, first of all, thanks for all these answers and critique on my actions. After reading through hundreds of your comments, I want to take a moment to genuinely reflect and admit many of you are right. If I'm being honest, had the roles been reversed, it was my daughter engaged to the man who started flirting on Tinder and she pulled the exact same move to confirm her suspicions, I wouldn't have called it manipulation. I probably would have said good for her for finding out now rather than later. There you go. There you go. You're getting it. You're getting it. The standard hit me. Whoop. Sorry. I reacted emotionally and focused way too much on how she exposed the issue rather than why she felt the need to in the first place. She didn't create the problem, my son did, and she reacted to it. I'll try to give you an update soon. I plan to talk to both of them again and hopefully get a clearer picture. Thanks again to everyone who gave honest input. There you go. Hey, props to you for onboarding feedback. Absolutely right. Yeah, I'm going to give you an upvote for that. Yeah, good on you. Yes. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, all right. So maybe not the arsehole. He's managed to take feedback. Hey, that's important. Hey, we all make mistakes, and let's face it. If he's the father or the mother, I don't think that they really said what the um do we know it's a woman or a man? We don't know. So just because they took as a mother or father took, you're obviously going to think the best of your child no matter what. Whether you're a mother or a father, you're going to go, okay, well, my son got catfish. Yeah, I'm glad they took it on board. I glad they took it on board. So I'm going to say not the asshole because they took it on board. And no, you can't change your vote. You're locked in. Um, yeah, it's good that they've learned something, and I agree. I think that, if that had been your daughter, you'd be like, "What a prick," right? Like, what an absolute ass that person is, and that sucks. That sucks. I mean, to see your friend upset by somebody cheating is hard to watch. I mean, I can't imagine what it's like to see your son or your daughter hurt for cheating. It sucks. It sucks. Absolutely sucks. All right. Well, let's see what you lovely people have to say. Um, let's see. Aunt Jess says, yeah, cancel the financial support. This relationship is doomed. Well, I mean, it's not necessarily doomed. It doesn't look good. Let's face it. It does not look good. From both ends. From both ends. But if you've got those suspicions, look, it's not so much a matter of who's in the wrong here. And I know, look, I know that the the son's obviously done something far worse, sort of being unfaithful and, kind of thing. But if you can't trust your partner enough, then you probably shouldn't be with them. If you're suspecting they're cheating on you to the level that you want to go out and catfish them, um, people have their suspicions, and sort of go, no, I trust my partner and sort of, if those suspicions grow. But if you're going out to try and trap him or her in some kind of trap, then um not only because they're unfaithful, but the fact that you can't trust them probably means you shouldn't be in that relationship, because you have to be able to trust the partner that you're with. um and playing these kind of, I'm going to trap you games, if it does turn out that they're like, okay, well, not really interested, or whatever, or they're not on Tinder, you know does that trust suddenly come back if you make a Tinder profile, put it out there, and it doesn't come up at all, like your fiance doesn't come up at all? Will you then trust them? Probably not, right? Like, that it runs deeper than that. So, um, you know, I don't know whether that's healthy to be in the first place. I don't think it is healthy to be. And if you're just running these series of things, what's next? Are you going to maybe get one of your friends to go up to them and try and flirt with them? Are you going to, hire one of those reality shows to do, what's next after this fails? Because I don't think if I'm so suspicious of my wife that I make a Tinder profile trying to find out if she's cheating, and her name doesn't come up and she doesn't come up, um, am I going to stop there? And I don't think so. I think it runs deeper than that. So, yeah, it doesn't seem great. It does not seem great. So if you're that suspicious, you're thinking of catfishing your partner, maybe you need to work on that or find somebody that's more trustworthy. Um, they confront it when it's done. Yeah, yeah, and it's an awkward question. Tinder matches people, and like I said, what was he looking for? Someone in the same house? Like seriously, that's weird. That's weird. Um, Reminds me of the British show 10 years ago where they'd take two 20-year-olds, 20-year-olds, I presume, and let them party in party cities, and the twist was their parents were watching it all in the next room. Okay, that's you know, I've been to a few parties, and even though I've not done anything that wrong, I don't know that I'd really like my parents watching it, to be honest with you. Um, hmm, I people are entitled to some level of privacy from their parents. Yeah, they confront him when it's done. Gotcha. So that's what that was related to. Gotcha. Um, it is likely to do with the crime they've been convicted of and the punishment's murder. Okay, I'm not sure what it's related to, but good to see you, Deviant. Robin, so good to see you. I hope you're feeling well. Um, I hope you're okay. I haven't seen you for a while. Yeah, just living life. Yeah, life gets complicated, Tori. I get you. Did she know he had a Tinder profile? And that's a good question, right? Like, why else would you have a Tinder profile, Jedi? I don't like. Maybe it's my ignorance. Do people like create Tinder profiles to, I don't know, find a chess partner or something? Is that a thing? Do people go on there looking for friendships? I didn't think so, right? Like, I didn't think people were like, hey, I need, somebody to talk about the new season of Love on the Spectrum or something. I did think that was a thing. I don't know why my mind went there. I was gonna say like Game of Thrones, and then I realized that ended. I don't know. The people like, oh yeah, this Tinder profile is for finding someone to discuss the philosophy of religion with. Like, please, you know, I need to talk to somebody. I don't know. Uh, Here's a single person you might like. Oh, look, they live in the same house as you. Isn't that convenient? Yeah, maybe. Maybe not known, but at least suspected. Yeah, I agree. Maybe they suspected. Like, do people like run into their like you don't mind a mature person as a younger person, so you come across maybe your do people bump into relatives' profiles on Tinder? Is this something that happens? Is this something that happens at all? I don't I don't know anything about Tinder. Um, why is she being sneaky? Yeah, I kinda see his point with the dynamics at work. Yeah, I do as well. I really do. Art just says, "How did she pick the right dating app?" Maybe she saw it on his phone or something like that. I mean, it'd be pretty easy for him to say, "Hey, I used to use it and now I don't anymore," right? This is some of the ridiculous things people say. I don't know if I found somebody, even if I found them through, maybe he found her on Tinder. The people do relationships. I think they do on Tinder, right? Like it's not just hookups. People also go for relationships as well. Is that a thing that happens? I feel like I'm really limited by my lack of knowledge about Tinder here. Um, Deviant Outcast says, why was he on Tinder in the first place? If she already knew that, why not confront him rather than the whole thingy mahoho majoho catfishing? I don't know what that word is. It seems seems a lot cooler than I have a right to be honest with you. It really does. Yeah, I don't know, Deviant. It's so weird. Kind of fair. I mean, it's her money, says Andrew. I'd need to know more about the husband to be's intentions with using Tinder, other than the past actions and thoughts of his wife to be. The mum has a point. Well, I don't know if it's the mother or the father. I don't think it really specifies. Um, Archer says they're both messed up and not ready for any kind of relationship. It's a problem. Yeah, I think some of that behavior would probably have to change before, you know, but really, we're just looking. I mean, could they be in a relationship? Sure. Would it be a healthy relationship? I don't think so, but that's not up for me to decide. That's really up for them to decide. The question is, should somebody else be financially supporting this relationship? And I think no. If you want to be in a fucked up relationship, that's entirely your business. Like, you know, there's a lot of trauma and hurt that can come from there, but you know, just because someone's going to go through a lot of trauma and hurt doesn't mean we have a right to tell them, hey, you're not allowed to do that. Um, you know, I've seen people in pretty horrible relationships and they seem, I wouldn't say happy, but they seem comfortable in that relationship enough that they're not leaving. It's like, okay, well, I'm not going to, you know, we're not behind the scenes, so we can't really judge. Um, so, you know, only two people in that relationship know what the actual basis and the structure of it is like. So I can't judge, but certainly that person can say, hey, well, I'm not paying for a marriage that probably will not last too long. Um, and how would the arrangement went for the mum to flip the bill? Yeah, no idea. Tori says, I have a funny feeling he's not been trustworthy before. Maybe. And it seems really hard in relationships. Like if someone's been cheated on, they bring that into the next one and it can really poison things. It's really horrible that cheating not only hurts somebody in your relationship, it might hurt somebody in your relationships down the line, kind of thing. I think that if you have been cheated on and you are bringing that into a new relationship, you should probably see a, you know, counselor or somebody to, you know, get an understanding of how to cope with those feelings in a healthy way, because they are, you know, if you've been hurt in a relationship, you know, having that come up and being upset and you know, feeling like that's arising, it's trying to tell you something. It that your feeling's valid, but the reason might not be. And so, you know, going through some professional help with it is a really good idea. Aunt Jess says, what kind of innocent intentions would you have for having a Tinder account while you're engaged, Andrew? I don't know. It's a good question. Um, hmm. Andrew Christopherson says, I don't know if women like loyalty. Well, I think so. I think I don't think it's just women. I think everybody likes loyalty. Everybody likes I mean, loyalty is a really weird word because there's people in polyamorous relationships who, you know, they have arrangements for their relationship, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. But everybody likes honesty and sincerity. You know, everybody likes integrity. That if you are in a relationship, that you are doing what you have committed to in the relationship, and that doesn't just include romantic relationship, that includes every relationship. You know, that if you do have a business arrangement with somebody, that you are being transparent and honest about what you're doing, you know, that you're not embezzling from the company or anything. I think that's just a product of human nature. We like people to be clear and honest with us. And I think that's the same for any relationship. You know, I don't like people that sort of say one thing and then act in another way, whether that's in business, in personal friendships, in romantic relationship, any kind of relationship. And I think we have a right to expect that from people, to be honest and upfront with what they're saying and doing. Yeah, he could have been dishonest previously. Maybe. We don't really know. Maybe. Archer says something that makes me angry. Maybe it's a meta catfish she was testing to see if she was testing. Look, that is something that somebody who is cheating and needs an excuse would say, quite frankly. I mean, that seems ridiculous. I like can Archer, you break my brain. Can I just point out the insane hypocrisy of that? Like, I don't think I've ever seen a more hypocritical thing than that. Oh, I was catfishing, testing you to see if you were doing wrong by catfishing testing me. I like, seriously, what the hell? If that's the case, then there's no hope for the relationship. The bride and groom are not seriously serious people. Well, they may be. You know, it's weird because you see these people that. I mean, that's an amazing comment, Joe. Just that aside, don't give cheaters ideas of how to sort of massage this into something noble, please. Anyway, they might be serious people. I don't know. I don't know. It's weird because you do see people who are like, "Oh, I love my wife. I'd do anything for them," and then they cheat on their partner. It's very strange. So they may be. I mean, we saw that one last week about a guy who passed away. He left like half of his estate to his ex-wife, but he'd cheated on her and destroyed their relationship. I mean, that's a guy who obviously he felt really bad about what he did. And the post was like, should I keep this money or not? Because his family's saying that I don't deserve it because I'm his ex. And it's like, well, if he cheated on you and destroyed he's obviously sincerely feels bad for it. Some people do. You know, it depends. It's weird. People are strange, that's something I've noticed. Big Bad Mama says the parent is projecting blame onto the girlfriend when the son is really the blame. Yeah, no, I agree. I absolutely agree. I agree, Mama. Deviant Outcast says, seems to me the poster is doing everyone a favor by not helping with the wedding finances. Yeah, no, I agree. I think that is the moral thing to do, is to say, hey, unless you guys can sort this out in a way that you're not going onto Tinder, and B, you're not, you know, paranoid about whether they're cheating on you. I think, yeah, it's not going to be something I can support. And that means sort of, you know, emotionally and financially. If they want to elope and get married, then that's up to them, but you certainly don't have to support it. Sterling Nash says these two are much too immature to even be even considering marriage. I'd strongly advised against it. He's 23. Yeah, I kind of would as well. If you're 23, you're engaged, and these are the problems coming up, it doesn't look good. I gotta say. Andrew says, "Hey, why are married and non-single women on fucking dating sites?" Lol. Well, you know, I think it is. I mean, some people, that's sort of what they do, and it's um you know, guys and women, men and women. Um, you know, some people get bored with who they're with. I personally think if I got bored with who I'm with, I would leave them. You know, I would say, hey, the flame died down, or I don't love you anymore, or you know. But me, I still get a good feeling with my wife just being around her and watching a show, and just talking to her and stuff. It's still great. I really enjoy it. So, but some people, they have a the flame of a new romance and all of that, and it's really exciting, and then that dies down, and I get it. I get it. But at the same time, why would you not say that? Because sometimes it's really exciting, but you never find that really cool relationship that you both have, and that's okay. It's just important to be honest about it, and go, hey, while I loved you, it just never evolved into that really good relationship. It happens. But the important thing to do is to be aware of that before you get into an engagement with somebody. It happens. It sucks. You know, self-esteem is very sure. People are complicated. Yeah, maybe. Maybe Majestic Beck. And welcome, Majestic Beck. We have two Becks in the house. Look, as far as I'm concerned, the more Becks, the better, as far as I'm concerned. Um, Fully agree, Sterling. Seems both of them needs to grow up. I can't see how the post would be morally in the wrong. Well, they were morally in the wrong, in my opinion, because they were basically saying, "Hey, it's the woman's. The woman had to check on the son." No, the son's equally, probably even more so to blame. I think that um, cheating on somebody and catfishing someone to find out they're cheating, I think cheating is the worst of the two, quite frankly. I think that in my secular humanism, cheating would do more harm than, catfishing someone to cheat. Don't get me wrong, it's not great. It's not great. But I think cheating would do more harm. The amount of betrayal it causes, the amount of harm it causes is just insane. I've seen people that have never really recovered from having a long-term relationship and being cheated on. I have met people who cannot trust anymore, and that's awful. That's absolutely awful. The amount of, I think that um, I think that my wife checking on me, I'd be upset. I could probably forgive her a lot quicker than if she cheated on me, right? Like I think that would be absolutely devastating. Don't let past injuries cloud your view of all women. Absolutely, Archer. But that's harder than it seems. If you've been hurt, um, it's very hard to change your thinking like that. It's easy to say, hey, I was in a really deep and meaningful relationship, got cheated on me, but I'm not going to apply it in my future. It's very easy to say. It's very hard to do. So that's where counseling, therapy, that kind of thing can really help, because you're going through and getting some tools and saying, hey, is this a reasonable thing to think with everything that I know? But it's hard. I get you. Majestic Beck says deception and sneaking shenanigans are not a healthy ingredients to a healthy partnership. I totally agree. I mean, what the hell? That is horrible. Uh, the other bet, we've got two Becks in complete agreement. I couldn't be happier. Trust is one of the four cornerstones of every relationship. Absolutely, absolutely. Cheating hearts, lying eyes. Yeah, I don't think I don't think you can tell through the eyes, to be honest with you. I've seen people, maybe it's me and I just can't tell that, but I've seen people, just lie outright without batting an eyelid. It's wild. Jinyu says, "Welcome, Jinyu. If you can't get caught if you're not doing that." Well, yeah, exactly. Although, I guess some things do look bad. Some things definitely do look bad, but yeah. Um, Andrew says, not that I am a soft spot. I can be opened up to a person again, just not giving myself again before I've been gotten. Okay. I'm not sure what that means. That's okay though. Look, at the same time, you can't just, outright trust everybody unquestioningly before you get to know them. Like, I'm not sort of saying, hey, be naive. At the same time, if the red flags are coming up, yeah, definitely pay attention. But, if you do know somebody and you want to further a relationship, you've got to be in a place to trust them. If you can't, then it's probably not a good idea to take it further. Because if they don't deserve your trust, they don't deserve your trust for whatever reason. I'm certainly not saying, hey, trust everybody outright. Yeah, I agree, Deviant. They weren't wrong for paying for the wedding. For not paying for the wedding, they are wrong for blaming the fiance. Wrong, they seem to have corrected. Yeah, absolutely. Thumbs up for the growth, OP. Absolutely. Absolutely. Lol, not my parents, Mark. I'm not sure what that was in relation to. Not your parents. Okay. You stand by your initial assessment, Deviant? Fantastic. No, I'll pay that. I'll pay that. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I'll pay that. It's good to see somebody go, "Hey, that's good advice." Yeah. Majestic P. Beck says, "Sounds like emotional mental torture to live like that." Yeah, absolutely. Red flags everywhere and erected by both sides. Yeah, absolutely. Seems horrible. Absolutely horrible way to live. Majestic P. Beck says, "I've had that happen, but I turned advances flat." Yeah, I mean, I've definitely been had advances on me while I've been in relationships. Um, you know, I I I I haven't really cheated, although I probably have been an outrageous flirt while I've been in a relationship. So, I had to learn that over time that it's usually not worth, the hurt caused to somebody else is not worth the excitement at the time. Like a lot of things, the excitement comes and goes, but you know the relationship, you're not going to be able to repair that if you act like that. So at a certain point you've got to say, well, if this is going to hurt the other person, my significant other, I can't do that because it hurts. But it's important to be honest about it as well. If you're with a flirty guy and it really doesn't worry you because, or if you're with a flirty girl and it really doesn't worry you because you know that she's loyal to you, that's one thing. But if it hurts and you're covering it up, that will just build resentment. It absolutely will just build resentment. So you need to be honest about, hey, that hurts if you do that, or I don't like it, or just something. Uh, maybe chest games on Tinder. I don't know what chest games are. Tinder book clubs. Okay, that's what are they reading? 50 Shades of Grey? I don't know. OnlyFans philosophical chats. Wow, that sounds like the most boring OnlyFans to ever exist. Um, it's not free in America. Yeah, yeah, I know. If you're talking about mental health or whatever, yeah, I know. That sucks. No, you're fine, Andrew. You're fine, mate. You're absolutely fine. You're absolutely fine. Sterling Nash says you can most certainly judge somebody else's relationship as unhealthy, especially if there is clear abuse. Well, yeah, I get what you're saying, absolutely, but really you don't know what's happening in a relationship unless they tell you, kind of thing. What I'm saying is that even people that kind of fight can have like a calm relationship in private. It's the fact that it's in private, or sometimes you think that a relationship is, they're perfect for one another and they're being abusive behind closed doors. You can't know unless one of them tells you. I get you. uh Sterling says it's not just the individual involved in the relationship determines help or not. Yeah, but I agree, but you never know what the relationship is like except what they show to the public. That's the thing. Um, Usually, you can never know with 100% certainty. I get what you're saying, though, Sterling. Abusive relationship is abusive relationship. I get you. Um, Andrew said, twist the story. Here's the girlfriend and boyfriend has split personalities and a double agent for Argentina. Wow. Okay, that took a turn. I don't know how we got to that. Wow. Tilting. Yeah, you're here. Yay. You're not. Oh, you are now. Like, okay. So my rants go for a long time at the start. Do feel free to skip them. I rant a little bit. I must admit. Um. Yeah. So good to see you, Windmill. So good to see you. I'm rolling weed for clarification. Okay, I have been clarified, Majestic. Have been clarified. I think that's about it. Okay. You had a psycho girlfriend once grabbed a cashier over the counter for smiling at you? What? That seems insane. That seems insane. Wow, okay, that's extreme. That's incredibly extreme. Beck, that's not healthy, my friend, at all. Wow, okay. Wild. Absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. I would be so embarrassed and saying, "Hey, you know, you cannot do there is no way you can do that." That was actually a good one. I did like that. I don't know, maybe I'm paranoid about what's AI at the moment. I feel kind of paranoid, I really do. How did the, vote go on the poll? The poll says Poster was correct. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I'm right there with you. Yeah, absolutely, Jay. I'm right there with you. Look, we were talking about this on my Discord, and if you do want to join the Discord, it's in the description. The checkout when we used to call them checkout chicks, but I did know guys to work that, so they're checkout chaps as well. Um, it's a hard job, right? Like you have to go through and you spend the 20 minutes in the store and 5 minutes at the checkout, whatever you spend. You like doing it all the time is actually really really difficult and annoying and just awful. So I always treat them with the respect that they're due as humans doing a difficult job for not much pay. They definitely deserve respect. 100% deserve respect. And um, one of my pet peeves is that people don't like. I don't know if you still have this. You might do automated stuff, to do the thing, but people that expect the cashier to do all of the work in grabbing the groceries and putting them in bags and stuff like that. You're there. You've got nothing better to do. Fucking help out. Like I always without any exception help and Lynn always helps if she's there. We're there. We can make it so much easier on this person if we just take a little bit of effort to pack things in bags or take it out of the bag and arrange it on the conveyor belt thingy, whatever it is. Like just put in a bit of fucking effort. It takes almost nothing to do in for you and it helps them so much, like really so much. So I don't understand it. I don't understand it. You do the Tetris packing, yeah. So we usually when we go shopping together, and we usually go shopping together. I will be taking things out of the trolley just because my arms are much longer. That I can reach the bottom of the trolley, kind of thing. I can reach very very far. So, and Lynn will usually pack stuff in because she's way more organized than I am. I'll give you the tip right now. So but I don't even if I'm alone, I will help. Like just help out. It's no big deal. This whole thing of I'm here, you have to serve me. It We can all help one another. Like just because you're at a store doesn't mean you can't help. Just do whatever you can to help their life. Help them help you. Be kind to people because look, it's a hard job. I knew a girl with back problems, right? In fact, I used to date a girl with back problems because she had to lean over that conveyor all the time and she'd worked on checkout for a long time. So that leaning, well, she also had incredibly big breasts, but also because she had to lean, it fucked up her back, you know? Not cool. Not cool at all. Okay. Yeah, no, does it really matter if what we're doing is AI? Yeah, no, I thought about this. It's okay to be paranoid, don't let it limit you. I agree, Deviant. And I had this conversation with Pinworm, and I sort of said, well, you know, as far as moral decisions go, hypotheticals are a thing, right? Trolley problems are a thing, even though we've never had, five people strapped to one track and one person strapped to another. So if AI is doing it, then it's just another hypothetical that we can engage with in a moral way. At the same time, it doesn't feel right to represent things as stuff people have done, and instead of saying, hey, this is a hypothetical, like the trolley problems. So I guess it's just more of that transparency and sort of integrity to say, hey, I'm going to be honest about what I'm doing here. So you're right. You're absolutely right. And I can say, hey, I suspect this might be AI. But I think the important part is to acknowledge when you suspect that and say, hey, this could be. Don't know if it is, but it could be. Next up, no amphibian. Am I the arsehole for breastfeeding my niece? Uh, is that weird? That's weird, right? Is that weird? I mean, people used to have wet nurses, right? They would have people that were lactating in order to feed their young, and that person wasn't even related to them. So I don't think it is. I think that's just a human thing. Um, I guess pragmatically speaking, absolutely not. If the parents are opposed to it, then maybe you are. I don't know. I don't know. Um, as far as I know, I got formula, I think. I think I got a combination of formula and breastfeeding. So I'm not sure because I'm not aware of that time. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's very strange. I don't think so, to be honest with you, at first blush. I really don't think so, because wet nurses have been a thing throughout human history, where you got, if somebody wasn't lactating, you got somebody that just had a child, or in the deep dark medieval times they'd just lost a child, and you um you know um, had them as your wet nurse to feed the baby, because you can't. I don't see it as a problem. And they've already decided not the asshole, so we know how this is going to turn out. But anyway, we'll press onwards because I wanted to look. Sometimes Reddit can be really wrong as far as my morality is concerned. Sometimes Reddit is insanely wrong. So we will press onwards because I've disagreed with these before. So my sister, 25 female, has a 4-month-old, and I, 28 female, have a 6-month-old. We are very close, and she asked me to watch her baby overnight last night. She brought bottles and pumped milk and informed me she'd never tried giving her a bottle, but it should be fine, and left. Okay. So that's good. If that's actually really good. If you're about the same thing, you can both watch each other's children, and that's fine. But she'd never given her a bottle, but it should be fine, and left. Okay. A couple of hours later, her baby was hungry. I prepared a bottle and tried feeding her the bottle, but no matter what I did, she wouldn't take it. She just kept crying. Okay, that's a horrible situation. After 2 hours of trying to feed her a bottle and then trying to spoon feed her and her screaming and me being unable to reach my sister. Okay, that's a problem right there. Me being unable to reach fist after 2 hours. I informed my sisters of what I'd be doing and I breastfed her baby. I guess she didn't check her phone for several hours because I ended up feeding her baby twice before my sister responded, and she was furious. Why? What? I why? Should she have just let your baby scream? I don't. What the hell? She said I had no right to do that, and I should have figured something else. Like what? So I'm wondering, am I the arsehole here? She hasn't spoken to me since picking my niece up. I don't understand. Why? She never tried giving her baby bottle. It should be fine. Well, what if it's not fine? I don't. What the hell? I, I'm wondering what else should she have tried? Like, is there anything if the baby refuses to drink from the bottle, what else are you trying to and spoon feed her? What else are you trying supposed to try? I should have tried something else. What, like delivery via catapult? What else are you supposed to try? Like, don't get me wrong, there might be something else that you're supposed to try, but I would be asking if I was the poster, what else am I supposed to try? Like, can you give me an example? Oh, my heart goes out to Jess. Shelf stacking. Okay. Well, good on you. I really appreciate your service. Absolutely. That sucks. I hate shelf stacking. I really do. I used to work in a bookstore for a short amount of time as well, and that sucked. That just sucked. I hated approaching people. That look, I used to work in a bookstore and the owner was like, please do approach people and ask them if they need help. I don't know if you've ever been in a bookstore, but I hate people approaching me and going, can I help you with anything? It's like, look, if I'm in a bookstore and I need help, I would ask somebody, quite frankly. I don't know. It's probably not even there anymore, to be honest with you. I mean, bookstores have really taken a downturn, but I'm going to do the poll, but I don't look. If someone could come up with something else she could try, because I don't know a lot about babies and really have no intention to, is the poster wrong for breastfeeding their niece? I just don't know what else they're supposed to try. Um, maybe can you like heat up the sort of bottle end to end nipple whatever to make it like more like a natural breastfeeding is I don't hmm and okay, so from a purely practical standpoint as well, I've spelt that wrong. Give me 1 second. I'll just adjust that. Yeah, there we go. Um, from a purely practical standpoint, won't the baby get more immunity? Like if you get immunization properties through breast milk, won't it be better to like most other people, like have other people? Anyway, I just don't know what else she's supposed to try. I've got no idea. No idea. Um, So yeah, with this, if it was just she just decided not to use the bottle, I would completely understand why the mother is pissed off. Like I'd understand, like you wanted her to use the bottle and she just ignored that. But if the baby doesn't want to take the bottle, doesn't want to take spoon feeding, all she'll take is breastfeeding. And quite frankly, that's understandable because it sounds like they've never given the baby a bottle before, for like, um, months on end. What, 4 months? Yeah, 4-month-year-old. Um, it's kind of understandable. And if you're not contactable, ugh. Okay, let's see what that say. Redditors shock me. Employment lanky. She never tried giving her a bottle, but it should be fine. After 2 hours trying to feed her a bottle and trying to spoon feed her and screaming, being able to reach my sister, I breastfed the baby. She didn't check the phone for several hours. Your sister is the asshole for her negligence, lack of preparation, and not having a phone on in case of a baby emergency, which there was. What parent completely walks away from their phone when they've left their toddler for a few hours? Her irresponsibility is staggering. Um, The only thing I can think is maybe she was at a movie or something like that. She had to turn her phone off. But if that's the case, I wouldn't be angry about someone breastfeeding when they won't. Yeah, I have no idea. It was literally your last resort after trying for hours to feed her with the bottle and then in a simple spoon. Your sister's baby was hungry, extremely upset, and you had no other alternative. In your care, the child came first. Your sister could learn a lesson in two or mothering from. Okay, settle down, Reddit. Seriously, we don't know that she's a terrible mother. It's just, yeah, it's not a toddler, but a 4-month-old infant. Yeah, I think maybe this is her first child and she feels very parents can be funny on their first child. I know that my brother was like he was incredibly protective of the first child, like them and the mother. um and by their second child, they were like, "Yeah, just take it and throw it around, don't really care." Like, seriously, it's really weird the way that parents act on their first child, like it is made of porcelain kind of thing. And that's understandable. As they have children, they're like, "Okay, well, it's not that bad as long as you understand how to, rel interact with the child. It'll be fine. It'll be fine." Um, Not the arsehole. Why was she unreachable a phone when she has a 4-month-old? If something serious came up and you went to the hospital with her child, yeah, it could happen. Yeah. Anyway, figuring it out was her job. You did not give your baby to someone without making sure she even takes a bottle. This needs to be trained. Is this her first child? That's a good question. That was my question. Yes, it is. Yep. Yes, it is. Of course it is. Yeah. I don't think it even occurred to her that the baby can refuse bottles. Yeah. Sounds like baby would have been in a dangerous situation. Baby won't eat, mum won't pick up. Luckily, the babysitter happened to be able to breastfeed. If she had left the baby with a brother instead, it may have become an emergency situation. You did the right thing from my point of view. Yeah, no, I agree. I totally agree. Totally agree. Can I go back? Yup. Yeah, and of course it's her first child. Okay, so that explains a lot to me, and it's important to understand that first parents with their first child are very panicky. That's just what it's like. It's just they worried that they're going to screw it up. They're panicky for everything that happens. I get it now, but it definitely doesn't make the poster an asshole. Like they're definitely fine. It's just once they have another child, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, this isn't that bad." You know, if somebody sneezes the wrong way, the child isn't going to suddenly, drop dead, kind of thing. That's true. That's true. Sorry, I misclicked there, but that's a good point anyway, Jess. Not the answer. I certainly think breastfeeding your niece has a weird ring to it. Yeah, it does. But wet nurses are a very long-standing human tradition. Yeah, absolutely. When it comes down to it, your sister wasn't available to decide whether she wanted to leave her event and come feed the baby herself, and you can't let a baby go an entire night without eating. Look, maybe a doctor will say that you could, but I certainly wouldn't risk it to have an option. Yeah, exactly. And it's important that you do not ignore a baby's needs and just let it cry if it's hungry and stuff like that. It's just not a great thing to do. um you solved a problem with a less than perfect but absolutely worthwhile solution. Yeah. Your sister is the arsehole if you're not checking in on your baby while you're out. The appointed guardian makes decisions. She's also an arsehole for expecting her baby to take a bottle from anyone else without training on the matter. She did everything wrong here and has no place to complain. Well, I mean, she can sort of say, hey, um, you know, I would prefer this, but I think having a bit of understanding and sort of going, well, it's not great. Not the answer. What was the alternative? You couldn't reach sister. Yeah, yeah. What was the alternative? The baby was in need of food and Virginia. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. What was the alternative? You couldn't reach your sister and the baby wasn't feeding the bottle. If it was this important to your sister, she should have gotten the baby used to the bottle beforehand. If she didn't have the time or didn't think of that, she can't blame you for prioritizing making sure her baby was fed when all else failed. Surely that's the priority. Yeah, over what your sister ideally prefers, and she wasn't available to ask anyway. The baby was in need of food and was in your care. Yeah, I absolutely um I absolutely 100% are on board with all of these comments. Absolutely. But I really want to know what the I wouldn't go so far to lower it to a peanut gallery, but you're definitely at least a cashew balcony, maybe. I don't know. I liked the packing of bags. Oh, well, that's nice, but I think it can be, just people helping you out at the cashier is a really good thing to do. It also makes it faster for us to get out of there, to be honest with you. So I'm all good. Um, I let the cashier do all the work, then book out my checkbook and write check slowly. You're a liar. I know you're a liar. Uh, if we are talking black bear, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Are you talking about the 100 people and the gorilla thing? Because yeah, 100 men and a gorilla. Okay, I've said this before. With the 100 men versus one gorilla, that, like, don't get me wrong, the first dozen people or so are going to be absolutely pummeled. But any 100, almost anything against one of something else, that one thing is in for a tough time. Like, I don't care if it's 100 cats against one person. If they decide to take it down, uh, that thing is absolutely dead. Like, even if they have, um, um, 4 people or 5, 6 people on each limb, that gorilla's getting torn apart. Like, I mean, the first few people are going to be hospitalized because that gorilla is insanely strong. But that amount of organisms against another one, it's just no contest. It's just, yeah, it's not going to end well, for a lot of people, but it's not going to end well for the gorilla either. And yeah, that was going around for a minute. Um, I still breastfeed at every opportunity. Wow. Okay. Deviant says it depends on how old a niece is. Well, yeah, that's true, and it is really weird that people past a certain age, like 5-year-olds, are being breastfed. That's weird. It was weird in Game of Thrones. It's weird in real life. Like, at some point, you've got to cut the umbilical and graduate to real food. Like, seriously. Majestic Beck says, I got carnation evaporated milk and served the Black Horse beer bottle. Gen Z, hell yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that was Generation X as well, Beck. I mean, I did get evaporated milk, like the formula. Um, really weird when the niece is 24, but that's a personal fan. Okay, that is weird. Jinyu, that she's 28 actually. The niece is 24. Okay. I'm wondering if the mother's consent is a factor here. Yeah, but if she can't give consent either way, right? Like, that's the whole point. Like, if you have if you are responsible for a child's well-being and you try to get consent and you can't get consent, erring on the side of caution for the one you're responsible's well-being, because really we've got two things here, Tops. We've got basically the harm caused by not feeding the child, and the harm caused by the the sister being upset about it. Right, one of those is way worse than the other. Okay, one of it is annoyance and irritation, and one of it is potentially neglect. So, out of these two harms, and this is how I look at it in secular humanism, one harm is way worse than the other. Okay, one harm does a lot of damage, and one is just annoyance and upset for one person. I think that they chose correctly not having that consent from the parent. I think they chose correctly, because we can't just go. And I've heard this before in the trolley problem. Someone will go, and it always happens. It's weird, and it's always Christians for some reason. I don't know. It's very, very strange that they will go, well, if I don't make a choice about pulling the lever, I'm not responsible for it. Like if I just do nothing, I can't be held responsible. And but you're still making a choice, right? You're still saying, hey, I'm not going to pull the lever. Even refusing to make a choice is a choice in itself, right? To say, hey, I'm going to leave it with the status quo. That is a choice because you could have done something. So I think that sort of, not just basically saying, well, I can't get permission from the sister, so I'm not going to make a choice. That absolves me of responsibility. I don't think that's the case. I think we would still say, hey, you made a choice not to feed the child. And that is a choice because you could have done otherwise. Enjoy your break, Jess. Enjoy your break. You deserve it. Um, Look, I don't use checks. I've never used checks. I don't. Yeah, nope. Yeah, I get you, Zen. It's okay as long as you have like adequate security set up. And what I like to remember and remind myself of is that if somebody steals money from my account, they haven't stolen from me. Essentially, the way that the law works, I don't know if it works in America over here, but if you get money stolen from your account, they stole it from the bank, not me, because the bank has a responsibility to have decent security set up. So unless I've been completely negligent with my details, they haven't stolen it from me. They've stolen it from the bank. So they have an obligation to refund that money stolen. And that's the way the law works over here. I'm not sure if it's the same in the US, but that's how it works over here. So I don't really mind using it because, yeah, because I've got decent security. I've got sort of backup on my thing that I have to enter something in order to validate it. And if somebody steals it, it's not from me, it's from the bank. Um, uh, She wouldn't be mad if she let the baby scream and starve for hours. Yeah, absolutely. The poster had no good outcome heading their way. Yeah, and I wouldn't put it as I certainly wouldn't make the response as, well, what's the best thing for the poster? I think that she's being responsible by going, well, what's the best thing for the baby? What's the best thing for this human that this tiny human that I am currently responsible for? And so I think that erring on the side of, well, I want them to be well, I will feed them instead of let them go hungry, is probably a good call as far as human well-being is concerned. So I absolutely think that's the case. What's better for the poster is kind of incidental, but I get what you're saying, Beck. Like, even if she did not feed them, she definitely would have heard about it and sort of, well, why didn't you do something else? I have no idea. Aunt just says the sister should have been available to reach for emergencies. Who doesn't check their phone for several hours? I check my phone even when in hospital. I don't check my phone for several hours. I rarely check my phone at all, to be honest with you, Aunt. I don't. I don't answer my phone much at all. I'm totally contactable online, yeah, but not my phone. I just, I very rarely check it. Sorry, that's just me. I really don't. But then again, I don't have a child either, so there's that. Um, Sterling says, "Yeah, I'm going with not the asshole. Mum should not have left the baby for that long if it was never bottle fed." Yeah, I get you. I get you, mate. I'm probably in agreement. Yeah. Andrew Christopherson says, but to mothers' wishes should be considered, not like you want a random lady with milky titties to come around dispensing milk out for just anyone. Well, yeah, no, we're not saying that. But I think that your sister, in a exceptional circumstance, like, you don't have to be happy about it, but they're doing the best they can. Yeah, and I do use PayPal as well, Beck. I get you. It's good. Would make for an interesting coffee cafe. What, like, call it the wet nurse cafe or something? I don't that okay. I'm intrigued. Like, I'd bet that would take off in Japan. I bet you it would. Um, Left-handed Jedi says, "Not the a-hole. She did not want her to go hungry." Yeah, no, I agree. I totally agree. Aunt just says, "Andrew, the mother's wishes was considered, and she attempted to reach her, but the mum didn't respond." Yeah, absolutely. Tilting Windmill says, "Maybe if the sister uses illicit or strong medications, then maybe." I would imagine that, like, because she has her own baby, I would imagine that she wouldn't be breastfeeding at all if she had, strong medications or something like that. Yes, you are correct, but nothing would suggest that in the post. Um, I don't know. I don't know. Sterling says different feeling and mechanism for the baby to go from breast to fake nipple. It takes a bit of adjustment for them. Yeah, I would imagine so. I would imagine so. I mean, I don't know, but I would imagine so. Um, Left-handed Joe says, "Growing up, you had used bookstores, and man, I adored that atmosphere." Yeah, you still find a few used ones around. There's one down at sort of a shops nearby me that has a used bookstore, and it's nice. It's got a good smell. Good smell. I don't know, something about the smell. Aunt just says, "Yeah, standard operating procedure is warming the bottle up gently by placing it in warm water until it reaches body temperature." Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, I think I've sort of seen people do that. I don't know, maybe the sister didn't know that. I don't know. I don't know. It's all in the smell. Yeah, no, I get you, Beck. I'm right there with you. Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned that. Um, Sterling Nash says, "Then you shouldn't leave your baby that long with a sitter if it's exclusively breastfed." Well, I think the problem is she didn't know that it would refuse the bottle, but the time to try that out is not with somebody that's not you. And I think sort of the commenters on Reddit are agreeing with that. Like, yeah, Deviant's obviously confused. Do you crank your cars too? What, it's homing pigeon? Okay, okay. Return of the King was like 3 plus hours long. Yeah, exactly. Actually, good point, Jessica. If you're watching a movie, you should have switched the phone to vibrate. Absolutely. Absolutely. You can switch it to vibrate, just whisper, "Hold on," and then, like, leave the movie theater to take the call. I agree, actually. You're 100% right. I will revise that. Even if she was watching a movie, she should have it on vibrate. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. Look, it's weird, Deviant. It's weird. Like, some people still use checkbooks. I mean, it's weird. Some of the doctors, they still use faxes. Like, it's so crazy. I remember Lynn telling me that some of the doctors still had, like, "Oh, could you fax over this information?" She used to work in health insurance. So they would sort of say, "Hey, could you fax over the information?" It's like, "Okay, would you like me to send it by carrier pigeon next time?" Like, seriously, faxes. Like, an email is so much easier, quicker, better in every single way, less expensive. I don't, but some of them are really stuck in their ways. And that's doctors. You would think that they would be up with modern technology, but no, no. It's okay. Like, I get you. I get you. I look, look, I can always focus on breasts. I'll just put it out there. But I realize it might not be as easy for you. I accept that, deviant outcast. I accept that. Anja says, "Being unreachable seems like pretty chilled out parenting. Doesn't sound overly concerned with what happens to the baby." Yeah, no, I get you. It seems like a bit of a double standard to, like, not be contactable, but suddenly be outraged about what the carer is doing for the baby. It seems like a double standard there. Jinyu says, sounds about right. First child treated like fine crystal. Second child is an anvil. Nothing can dent. That's what I found from my brother. But apparently that's a lot of parents that does happen. So being patient with a first time parent is a good idea because they you know really you can understand why they suddenly have this thing that they're responsible for that they're really worried about. So being understanding of that is a really good idea. Um 100 man versus bull. I'd rather see that, says Top G. Yeah, I still think the bull is going to get it. Honestly, I think 100 humans against anything about that size, it's going to be a bad time for whatever. Don't get me wrong. Like there will be people absolutely hospitalized, but I think 100, like 100 of something, like 25 people per limb. I'm really sorry, but that is overwhelming force. I mean, we see professional fighters and stuff. They have trouble handling like 3 people. Like it's very difficult. Um, and sort of numbers exponentially increase the difficulty in dealing with some another force. So it's very very difficult to do so. 100 people, that's overwhelming. Um, Evaporated milk and formula are different. Evaporated milk doesn't have complete nutrition. Oh, I get you. I get you, aren't you? Yeah. Okay. Well, I think I got formula. I think um, but I think I was breastfed as well, and then went on to formula, and then on to sort of solids kind of thing. As far as I know, I don't have a very very solid memory of it because too young, always too young. Um, can a disease be transferred through breast milk? I believe so. Could that be an issue? Maybe, but if that's the case, I wouldn't think that they would be breastfeeding at all. And yeah, strong medicines as well. Yeah, I know that is an issue. If somebody is on strong medication, they shouldn't breastfeed. I'm aware of that. Jessica, the trans metal alchemist, says it's a rather Aristotelian perspective to view someone's non-action as not being choice. Yeah, and I think that's wrong. I think that is a choice. Inaction is a choice. So I think that that is a decision that is made. I think the idea that doing nothing isn't a choice, so you're not responsible. I think that's a very antiquated notion. We can certainly have cases of neglect where someone has done nothing to help as a choice that they made. And I think legally and morally that would hold true. It seems to be sort of rather than being a good argument for being not a choice to have in action, it sounds like it's more a attempt to find an excuse as why they shouldn't be culpable, to me anyway. Let's see. Left Hand Jedi says there is a vending machine in Japan that sells breast milk and milk stained bras. Thank you, Japan. Yeah, Japan's a a very weird place. Hello, Brett Keane. How you doing? Uh, I have been well. Yes, thank you. I hope you're well yourself. Yes. Um, Ted Wilmore says my elderly dad was literally 2 weeks required to send his health insurance company something by fax. Yeah, no, that needs to update seriously. Your doctor's office use faxes. Yep. Is it linked to none? Yes, his secretary is Mr. Tumnus, who is going to fax you back. Medical policy in Canada: no email for patient data, fax only, as it can't be hacked. Yes, it can. What are you talking about? Of course, you can intercept signals via PSTN line. I mean, it's more difficult, but you can do it. It's not a problem. Plus, a lot of PSTN lines don't exist anymore. Like you will get places where they don't have a PSTN. So PSTN is the publicly switched telephone network. If you're wondering what the acronym is, I don't know why you would, but that's the acronym for the copper lines that go into places. Now we're using fiber optic backhaul and fiber into premises, so they will not have PSTN lines at all in order to use faxes. They'll instead use FOIP, FOIP, or fax over internet protocol, which means that it's still, you know, even if you don't have that line, like they use VoIP, which is voice over internet protocol, or fax over internet protocol. So it still goes through the same thing. All the blood-to-blood viruses can be transferred through breast milk, so that includes HIV, Hep C, and Hep B. Well, I would expect the poster, Jessica, if they did have any of those stuff, I would expect them to say so, to be honest with you. I really would. That would be, you know, a rather significant omission if they didn't mention that. That would be terrible, kind of thing. So yeah, I don't think that's the case. How did the poll go? Let's have a look. Poster was correct. Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree, peeps. I absolutely do. Absolutely do. Yeah, so fax, the only way that I know that fax is done consistently is actually the FOIP, or FOIP, fax over internet protocol, is the only, because it, the way that they're taking out copper backhaul, right? Because the what you've got to remember is that copper lines are so much slower and can transfer so much less data than um, fiber backhaul. They're taking it all out and replacing with fiber anyway. So, you know, it's kind of this system where you're, even if it's got a copper line going into it, you've got to basically take an electronic signal, transfer it into a PSTN, or a copper electronic carrier signal, send that out as sound waves, or electronic signal across the PTSTN line. It will get transferred into a FOIP signal, so a way to transfer it over the internet, and then the same thing in reverse to send it out to a fax machine the other way. It's so stupid. Like seriously, it's just it's a terrible way to do it. Just update to email. Like seriously, with modern encryption, email, like who's gonna want to hack your, like, spend the amount of time to bypass encryption for some random person's health details? I'm really sorry, but you know, I cannot imagine somebody doing that. Like, why? What does it get you? I understand that there's things like, you know, bank transactions, passwords, there's sensitive information out there, government information, sure, but who the hell cares about, like, somebody's health information? It doesn't, look, you've got three types of hackers out there. You've got black hats, white hats, and gray hats. Now, black hats are people that are generally doing it for money. Like, they're hackers that want to try to blackmail people, sort of, you know, hold places hostage. They want to try to get information so they can make profit for it. That's a black hat. Okay, they're doing it illegally in order to provide for themselves. You can't really make that much money off health records unless you're maybe trying to blackmail somebody famous. But you know, it's so ridiculously rare. I don't know why you would be really worried about that. Number two is grey hats, and they usually do hacking for politically motivated purposes. So it might be, say, anonymous, you know, hacking into somewhere to try and get their information to, you know, cause the government to be culpable for something, or you know, it's a Russian people, you know, spreading misinformation. Those are the grey hats. They're politically motivated hackers. They're not going to want health records because it doesn't help them politically, unless it's of a president or something like that. There's no point. And white hats are the ones doing ethical hacking. They're penetration testers, basically hackers that test to see whether something can be hacked with permission from the company. So those are white hats. Um, Under any of those circumstances, I can't see why somebody would want an ordinary person's medical records. I can't see the point. I can't see the point. I just can't. I don't know why anybody would want that. Like to have to get through that level of encryption in order to get there. I don't, you know. No, no, I wouldn't be surprised at that, Sterling, but that's not what we're like. We're not talking about a hack intercepting the signal. It doesn't matter. Like, if you send your medical records by fax, it's not going to stop the healthcare worker from looking up the records. That doesn't stop it. It's exactly the same. So, it doesn't solve the problem. Because if something's faxed over and then put into the system, the medical worker can just look it up anyway. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about intercepted signals here, and the fax as opposed to, say, email. And what I'm saying is that, yeah, it's difficult to intercept the fax over the carrier, but it's like almost as hard to decrypt an encrypted email and get the information that way. Like, yeah. Um, the cell phone company by me was hacked the other day, and they're still down and cannot provide services. Well, that sounds like a denial of service attack, which is, yeah, I mean that's a hack, sure, but it's not the same as gathering information about someone. So um, essentially, gathering information is generally a phishing attack. You're talking about a denial of service, totally different things. But yeah, that's weird. That's wild. Mm. Look, hackers have almost taken out the internet in the early days. Back in the I think it was in the 90s sometime, 93 maybe. There was a denial of service attack on the 12 main DNA servers across the internet. It almost took down what we currently know as the internet. So, like, it's a lot more distributed now, but they took down something like 7 of the 12 core domain servers, which would have sort of ruined the internet as we know it. Really fascinating stuff that they almost succeeded, but now we've got backup, spawn backup, spawn backup, so it wouldn't work. But it's interesting. DNS, yeah, sorry, misspoke. DNS, domain name servers. Domain name servers. So they provide all of the information for that. If you put in reddit.com, that it knows where to go, that it has the address behind that. So domain name servers translate your URL into the address that the system knows where to find it, essentially. Yeah, it slowed down things for a while, but it certainly didn't take down the internet. It was interesting. Um, okay, this will be the last one because I am getting up to 2 hours here. I usually go for a while, but yeah, I've been. Look, tangents in the chat. Tangents in the chat. I admit it. I admit it. I'm gonna throw some tangents in there just for kicks because hell yeah, hell yeah. Um, Yeah, so yeah, but the problem is any illegally obtained evidence cannot be used as evidence, Archer. You would have to find it out in discovery, or you wouldn't be able to use it. That's the problem. So definitely not a throwaway account. Apparently, I think they are a liar. Am I the arsehole for kicking out a friend who dismissed my job loss while living with me rent free? Um, Maybe, maybe. Kind of says yeah. If you just kick them out without any warning, I think that's a horrible thing to do. I think if you are just upset and they're not your friend anymore because they've been a complete prick to you, and you want to say, "Hey, look, I was doing you a favor. You've been really mean to me. I don't like where our relationship is going. So you have to leave, I'll give you a couple of weeks or whatever. I think 2 weeks is usually a good time frame for saying, hey, you've got to find another place within 2 weeks. I think that if you're like, get out now, that's a horrible thing to do to somebody, and you should not do it. Okay. You should at least give them time to find another place, because essentially just kicking them out is basically going, well, you're going to be on the street tonight. And that sucks. That's horrible. Even if they are staying short term, you should at least give them some time to find alternative accommodation. I think that the harm, unless it's very egregious. I get that if they steal something or assault somebody or something like that, I totally get just kicking them out. Like, get out now because you have transgressed in that way. But if it is just, hey, you've hurt me by saying this, and could you please leave in 2 weeks? I think that's fine. If you're saying you've just hurt me and get out now, I think that is unreasonable. I think that the consequences of them staying would have to outweigh the consequences of somebody being on the street. And I think the harm being on the street, it would have to be a great harm for them, for somebody else if they stay, like if they keep stealing or they have assaults. Like, the harm is greater if they stay in those scenarios. But I think that if the harm isn't that good, isn't that large, or isn't that significant, then yeah, you'd have to be a bit of an asshole to go, get out right now. I've been in that situation. It is horrible. It is awful. Wondering if you're going to be on the street tonight is absolutely awful. It's not cool. It's not cool at all. But if somebody has done something egregious that it would be a danger to the people in the house, totally understand it. Totally understand it. But if it's like financial, oh, you're not buying your share of the food, or you're not, being doing your chores, or you're not being supportive to people, or you've been an asshole to this person, I think that just saying get out on the street is it's too much. It's too harmful. It's really horrible. Absolutely horrible. But let's have a look at it. Okay, hi, throwaway count for obvious reasons. Okay, well, at least he's being honest. He's being honest up front. I get it. I'm really struggling with this and need an outside perspective. My friend, let's call them Jamie. Oh, has been staying with me for the past few weeks. They've been going through a really rough patch. They lost their job a while back. Yeah, that sucks. I've lost my job due to redundancy and stuff before. It sucks. It sucks. Had some family issues and generally just needed a place to land. I offered my couch since it's a small place, no questions asked. That's very nice of you. Yes. I figured that's what friends do, especially when someone is down. Yes. I think that would be a morally, it would be a moral virtue to do. And so you wouldn't be morally obliged to do. It wouldn't be necessary for you to do to be a moral person. But I think it would be a good thing to do. Sure. Sure. Um, I'm sort of reluctant to do that just because I'm a pretty messy person. Lynn's a pretty messy person. I don't know if I can offer something. I think people would have to understand. But if somebody was really down on their luck and they're a friend, I probably would as well. I've been covering all the groceries, utilities, everything, just trying to be supportive while they got back on their feet. Okay, well, I mean, I think that's a bit too far. They could probably, um, maybe they can't. They lost their job a while back. How long has it been? Past few weeks? Yeah, no, it's time to sort of say, yeah, it's time to sort of say, hey, you've got to chip in and do something, because just while they get back on their feet, that can't be months on end. There's got to be a limit to that. And you've got to have boundaries up front, like how long you can let them stay for. Um, you can't you can't sacrifice your own well-being to help somebody out with theirs. It can't happen. You've got to take care of yourself. Because if you sacrifice your well-being and you can't function or get into a bad place or get dragged down with them, then you can't help anybody else out. So it kind of reminds me, and what I like to keep in mind is something I learned when you're doing life saving, surf life saving, which I did when I was younger. Got my bronze medallion. Never really had to save anybody, but the place I was with had a lot of lifesavers on board. But one of the things you get taught is that people that you save will try to grab you sometimes, okay? Because they're panicked and they're in trouble and they'll try to grab you. And you cannot allow that to happen because they will drag you down with them. And this is something that has been learnt from actual experiences of people. When they grab you and start to drag you down, there's a couple of ways to deal with it in life saving. The first way, the ideal way, is that you just swim down because that's the last place they want to go. So, you swim down. If they still hold you, right, as you swim down, what you do is you plant a foot in their chest and you literally push them off you. You cannot be dragged down. Because not only you will die from drowning, they will too without your help. So you've got to get them to a place where you can actually help them. If they do follow you down, if they do start to drown, well, you can deal with that. Then they're not, if they do swallow a bit of water, you've got to pull them up, give them EAR, which is expired air resuscitation, get them moving again, but at least they're not fighting you. And that sucks. That's terrible, right? That is a horrible situation, but it's a survival situation. Yeah, so it's a horrible situation, but if this person is being, if they're really struggling themselves, they might not be in a position to help anybody else, and that is just how it is. It sucks. It's horrible. Life is hard. It it sucks, but that's the way it is. Things were okay, a bit stressful on my end financially, but I was managing until yesterday. I got the call I was being laid off, completely out of the blue. My company is restructuring, aka got hit hard by tariffs. Okay, that sucks. And my department was hit hard. I'm talking no severance. What? Isn't that illegal? No severance, nothing. That's insane. That's insane. Just gone. I'm terrified. I live paycheck to paycheck, and even the thought of not being able to pay rent next month or even buy food is making me sick to my stomach. Yeah, and we're going to see this kind of horrible stuff happening with the tariffs. I came home that day completely shell shocked. Yeah, I can't even describe to you the feeling of being let go from a job. A friend of mine once hassled somebody for losing their job. Don't hassle people for losing their job. It's an indescribable feeling of loss and pain and everything like that. Don't even make a joke out of it. Okay, it's not a fucking joke at all. Okay, it's not something that, don't say, well, now you got plenty of free time. No, don't do that. Okay, it's fucking bad. And the feeling is indescribable. It really is. Like, at least if you get fired, there's a reason for it. Being laid off, it seems so like there's literally nothing you can do about it. It's just the way things worked out. And it's hard not to blame the company. It may not be like in this case, the tariffs have hit home. Yeah. Oh, Maximiliano, you absolute legend. Absolutely. Now I've got to read them out. But thank you so much, Maximiliano. And that goes out to the Reverend Jeffrey Ramsey Jr. David Street, The Raging Tomato, Paul McCaffrey. Winners, winners, chicken dinners, all of you. Thank you so much, Max. You are a legend. Thank you so much, buddy. Oh, yeah, much love, my friend. Much love. You hit Raging Tomato. That's good. Yeah. I should have a debate maybe coming up on Raging Tomato. I want to do some more stuff on secular humanism. I've sort of, I feel like I've got enough of a handle on it to really, really present it in a good way. I really have been working on it, and I want to do some more videos. It's just very hard for me. My ADHD. I try to plan videos, and my ADHD kicks my ass. Like, it doesn't seem like I've got enough time. But anyway. I tried to explain what happened, how scared I was, how this changes everything. I was barely holding it together, trying to articulate the sheer panic I felt about my future. And Jamie just looked at me, almost bored, and said, "Dude, it's not that serious. Like, kids are literally dying in Palestine right now. You find another job." Oh, he doesn't have another job. Like, can we just point this out? You haven't found another job. Why are you saying that this person will? I get being optimistic, but there's a big difference between being optimistic and being callous, kind of thing. Like, I don't, you know, that's just callous. That really is just callous. Yeah. I just stared at them. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The dismissive tone, yeah, the complete lack of empathy, the way they used a horrific global tragedy to minimize my immediate personal crisis. Look, we don't make comparisons over trauma and crises. We don't try to say minimize others by saying, "Well, I've had worse," right? We don't, or say those people are having worse. So the reason for this is that if everybody had to have a greater tragedy somewhere in order to um, to be taken seriously about their trauma or about the bad things in their life, then only one person in the world would be able to complain about anything, and that would be the person who has it worse, right? You could say to the kids in Palestine, "Oh, at least this hasn't happened to you, or at least, you're still alive." Or so, we don't try to evaluate what that means to you and whether somebody has it worse. Please don't do that. Um, you know, Definitely look for the bright side of things. Hey, we're at least, have this house for the moment. There's bright things, but definitely give some empathy for how they feel right now without saying, "Hey, there's somebody in the world who feels worse." There's always going to be someone in the world who feels worse. It does not take anything away from what they're going through. Okay, you wouldn't do that for someone that had lost a child or something. Go, "Oh, but there's people that have lost two children." And what, to that person, there's people that have lost three children. And to that person, there's people that have lost four. Where is it going to stop? So don't start. Just go, "No, I understand. That sucks." Like, at least give some empathy. And the weird thing is, you would really think that someone who has just lost their job and has to use your couch to survive and your help to survive would be empathic about you losing your job. Um, I don't, like, how could you not? How could that happen to you? And then you go, "Well, I don't care if it happens to somebody else." It seems wild to me. I'm sorry, it just seems wild. I would be absolutely sympathetic, empathetic rather with that rather than sympathetic. And yeah, um, the director, but given they're living off my generosity. Well, it doesn't matter. If they're your friend, they shouldn't be doing that at all. It doesn't matter whether they're living off your generosity or not. But that is weird that they're not seeing the irony there. Wow. Something in me just snapped. All the stress of carrying them, all the fear about my own situation, it just boiled over. I told them as calmly that I could I needed them to leave. that I couldn't have someone in my home who couldn't offer basic human empathy when I was at my lowest point, especially when their own struggles are being cushioned by my now non-existent income. Now I'm sitting here alone, jobless, and feeling like a complete monster. Did I overreact? Was it wrong to kick out a friend who's already going through a hard time, even if their comment was incredibly insensitive? I know global issues are devastating, but does that mean my personal struggles are completely invalid? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Global issues are devastating, but you know, your personal that does not invalidate your personal struggles in the slightest. It just doesn't. I'm sorry, it doesn't. Like I said, if we start to compare them, then only one person in the world would be able to complain. We don't do that. We say, hey, this really affects your life. Yes, it does. That's completely valid. That for a start. I want to know if they gave them any time to find another place. That's what I want to know, right? That's essentially what I want to know. Um, it's hard though. If they're not contributing to the house, then can you afford to have them there? Look, I think it would be time to say, hey, you've like I can't afford to pay for your food or whatever anymore. You're going to have to organize that yourself. Um, I don't see like I don't see um sort of um giving them the couch to sleep on is really going to like that's you're not giving out anything extra in order to do that. So I would probably say, hey, look, use the couch, but I cannot have someone living with you. I'll give you 2 weeks to move out, or however long till the end of the rent, because obviously if the rent can't be paid, you're both leaving, not just one person. If the rent's due in 2 weeks and you can't pay it and they can't, you know, you're not staying if I'm leaving. That's both of us leaving. So, or however long, or 2 weeks, and you've got to find another place. And I can't afford to buy food for you anymore. You're going to have to organize that yourself. And if you don't like that, feel free to find another place. That's how it is. But yeah, I don't know what's wrong with his friend that they couldn't be sympathetic. But at the same time, I would, I think to be honest with you, even if they didn't make the comment, you can't afford to have them living in your house anymore, contributing nothing. You've lost your job. You can't afford that anymore. Circumstances have changed. And that's the thing, regardless of someone's your friend or not, circumstances do change. Okay. They do change. If you're got a well-paid job and you can afford to be generous, good for you. I don't think it's a moral necessity. I think that's just a moral virtue, but good for you. But if circumstances change and you can't afford that anymore, then you can't afford it anymore. It's got nothing to do with whether you're a good friend or a bad friend, nothing to do with it. It's just what you can afford to do. It's what you can afford to do. And so asking them to leave if you can't afford it anymore, not the arsehole either. Definitely not morally bankrupt. Absolutely not. So yeah, that's my opinion. But I'd love to get yours. I will start a poll as per usual. See what you think, and I will check out what the Redditors have to say afterwards. Um, should the should the poster have asked their friend to leave after losing their job? But I think that the posters focused on, um, did I make an emotional reaction um, because of what my friend said, and is that right to do? Um, Maybe it was an emotional reaction, but I don't think it's incorrect. If you look at things without the emotion, I think it's valid to say he can't afford to put somebody up in his place, um, even if he wasn't wasn't you know offended or upset. I think he couldn't afford it, and that's the bottom line. There's no place for his friend to stay at, even if he gets back on his feet and gets another job, if, you know, he loses the place. I think that, um, when you're living off somebody's generosity, if circumstances change and they can't be generous, that's entirely understandable. Entirely understandable. But what occurs to me is that a lack of a social safety net is probably causing this problem. Think about this. If they had a social safety net there to say, hey, the government will step in and support you while you're looking for work, they could look for work and get back on their feet so much easier and without so much stress and desperation. Without this, oh, well, we're going to lose the place and be out on the street. It would be so much better for the government just to support them for a little while they get back on their feet and find another job. Plus, it's probably, like you mentioned, the tariffs have caused this layoff. It's probably the government's fault that this happened in the first place. Absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible. Time for the poll. Yep. You love it, Andrew. You love it. But yeah, I don't think it's invalid. I don't think he's an asshole. I think he's just trying the best that he can. But I would like more information. Like, was he expected to walk out and onto the street, or was he given some time to find another job, find another place, basically? Not the asshole you're living paycheck, meaning you couldn't build a cushion to weather the setback because of your generosity. You need to think of yourself first, because it appears Jamie isn't. Take a beat. Tomorrow, if you focus on getting your next income, look for a job, entering the gig economy, look for things you no longer use to sell on Craigslist or Marketplace to build up a cushion, cancel or downgrade all non-essential subscriptions. Yeah, this is horrible. Horrible. Yeah. No, tomorrow sign up for unemployment. I don't know if they have that kind of thing. I don't know. Daddy, not the arsehole. If it's so easy to find a new job, why has your friend been sitting on your couch this long? That is a good point. Yes. It's not, well, I mean, it is easier for some people than others. I do admit that, like if you're in, retail or something, it usually is easy to find a job that if you're in some specialist field, you're in electronics design and you've been laid off. Some things are hard to find than others, and you may have to downgrade on your position. If you were in a certain position, like a managerial position, later you might have to go for something more entry level, which sucks, absolutely sucks, and it sort of resets your job performance. But you do what you got to. You do what you got to. Anyway, you should be focused on job hunting, not propping up someone who can't even spare you and I'm sorry, you couldn't afford it in the first place. Yeah, and that's the point. Can you afford it? If not, you can't do it. That's, yeah. I wish this was the top comment. He's a house guest. Yeah. Not the arsehole. It's insensitive for someone who recently went through something similar to completely dismiss what you're going through, especially if they're relying on you for housing, food, etc. They get mad at you for kicking them out. You could honestly use the same reasoning against them. You did right by having them leave. It seems like they were just using you temporarily. And yeah, and that could be the case. That absolutely could be the case. It is possible. Galactic Overlord. Okay, St. Elvis says, not the arsehole. I couldn't have someone in my home who couldn't offer basic empathy. Fucking A. Yeah, I'm not sure that's a particularly reasonable comment. I think that having the housemate, if you will, because they're not really contributing, the house guest leave is independent to the comments that they make. I think that even if they didn't make the comments, this person still can't afford to put them up. They've just lost their job. I think it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. It's the fact that circumstances have changed and living paycheck to paycheck. They can't afford it anymore. That's it. That's the entire discussion. Irrelevant to my mind. But, other people think differently. Well, I don't think they should stop. I don't see any overreaction by Jamie, the person staying there. They got really defensive saying it was overreacting. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Oh, pack up thing and leave immediately? Okay. Yeah, you're not being selfish. Okay. Oh, yeah, all right. Well, I would have given them some time to find a new place, at least a couple of days or something. Are they the arsehole? It's hard. It's very, very hard to say. It's very hard to say. I've been in that position before, um, being thrown out before, and it's hard. So contentious. Um, I'm gonna kind of say, yeah, everyone sucks. I'm gonna say everyone sucks. Just give him a tiny bit of time to find something else. I think I'm gonna come down on like you're throwing him out on the street. I can't get on board with that. I can't get on board with that. Look, I lived at someone's house once where um, I had a friend and his girlfriend owned the house, and she was absolutely horrible. In fact, I kind of went out of my way to help them. I actually house sat for them while they went away to Northern Territory, another state, and I took care of the house and their pets and everything, and my rent didn't even drop for that period of time, right? They were the girl was so incredibly stingy that I took care of all of her stuff and she didn't even drop the rent 1 red cent for me to do so. And I was doing it out to help my friend, right? Because it was his girlfriend. So I was helping my friend. Um, they complained about everything when they got back. Just complained and complained. You know, I hadn't watered the plants. I did. They'd just not planted them very well. You know, I tried everything I could to help, and basically they were mean to me and threw me out without any kind of warning whatsoever, just straight out onto the street. And that was horrible. That was absolutely horrible. Um, I really think you should give somebody some time to find a new place. Just saying. Just saying. Yeah, that's wild. That's wild. He definitely is insensitive though. Uh I look, um, look, that was a hard time in my life. I'll tell you that right now. Very hard time in my life. Um, you know, yeah. And from that, I learned even if you're friends with somebody, have a lease and agreement spelled out in black and white so you've got something to stand on. That's essentially what I learned from that. You can't just trust even your close friends to have an agreement kind of thing. If you don't get something in writing, then they can just throw you out on your ass. And I learnt a lesson. It was hard though. It was really, really hard. So, yeah, very, very difficult. Very difficult. Let's see. What have we got from the little readers out there? Yes, I'm talking about you all. Blessings, all. I'm not. Where's my faith? I don't have faith. It's non-existent. Not existing. Where is it? Nowhere. Would not be a good time seeing plummet. Yeah, but I mean, what are your choices? What are your choices there? He doesn't have a lot of choices. So yeah, sucks. My partner and I record the audio for our Transformers podcast 5 weeks ago, but it's not published yet because ADHD. Yeah, it does. It does. I'm really, my heart goes out to you. That resonates a lot with me because there are things that I planned that just have not come to fruition, and yeah, I get lost in the sauce. It does happen. Um, Archer says, just because there's genocide happening doesn't mean other bad stuff's done. Yeah, it's kind of like whataboutism, isn't it, Marcher? Like, oh, because this other thing is happening, then, you know, nothing bad is happening in the US because there's a genocide going on in Palestine. Like, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever, you know? Like, yeah. Jerry says, boot 'em, bro. They are scamming you. Person has boundary, limit setting avoidance, and over responsible syndrome. Maybe a little bit, yeah. But I think booting someone is hard. It's hard, just from my own personal experience. Um, lol, this is life of living in America. Yeah, my heart goes out to everybody out there. That's the thing. Like, people don't really hate America; they hate the government, and I think people are starting to get why. You know, Jessica says the friend hasn't made any effort towards reconciliation since the decision. I don't know. Probably not. Um, Deviant Outcast says Poster isn't the one who's not being a good friend here. The friend, aka Jamie, is. Yeah, I kind of agree. But even somebody that is a complete douchebag, I would still give them some time to find another place. It's just from what I've been through. It's just I couldn't do that to anybody. I think at least like a couple of, even if they're being a colossal ass, like a couple of days just to find something. Andrew says, if it's only I get to complain, I can live with that. I'll share. Fair enough. Left Hand Joe said, that is a cruddy situation. They are leeching and don't care, not the a-hole. Yeah, okay, that's fair. That's fair. I get what you're saying. All that gives me pause is get out right now. That just, it hurts. It hurts. Just because it is hard. It is so hard to recover in that kind of situation. And I know that from personal experience. Stephen Outcast says, yeah, I stand by my earlier statement. You put your oxygen mask on first, then you help others with theirs because you can't help anyone when you're dead from suffocation. Yeah, that is true. Jessica says, the housemate's statement was objectively toxic and manipulative rather than acting on emotions. The OP was making completely rational action. Yeah, and it sort of does, doesn't it? Like, he seems like he's being rational. Haven't found a job. It's rough here. Sorry to hear that, Andrew. It's horrible, mate. Jessica said, if my work decided to sack me, I would give them a payout of several $1,000s. Yes, but Jessica, the industrial relations laws in Australia, like, I am shocked and appalled at industrial relations in the US. It is so bad over there. It is just phenomenally bad, like phenomenally bad. Deviant Outcast says, it kind of amazes me that people have such a hard time realizing that societal win to share burdens. We're a social species. We benefit from helping each other. Yeah, and it's kind of this idea that instead of sort of taking a larger share of the pie, you grow the pie. Like, you help everybody out, and just naturally the wealth and the amount for everybody increases, and you get a much better society. It's so backwards to go, well, I'm going to stamp on everybody on my way to the top kind of thing, because the place that you get isn't worth being at. Like, it's a horrible society that is made from that. It's wild. I think that sort of Scandinavia and um, some of the countries that are doing these social programs, they're really showing how it is done, how you make a healthy, happy society. TMB says, my lease isn't going to be renewed and my disability got denied. I'm so sorry to hear that, mate. That sucks. That absolutely sucks. I've been de-leased before, like, just had the lease run out and they're not going to renew. It absolutely sucks. Absolutely sucks. My that is bad. I hate the rental situation in Australia at the moment. It's absolutely outrageous what is happening. Absolutely outrageous. Like, there's people that will never be able to own their own home. They will rent all their lives, and it's absolutely horrible. Um, Deviant says Post should have acted less reactive in an ideal situation, but I do understand why he's reacted. Yeah, and I completely understand. Yeah, no, I do. But at the same time, I can't help but feel somebody like going out on the street is just it's so bad. Sterling Nash says the robber baron billionaires privatize the profits and socialize their losses. Yeah, and that socializing their loss. It's called externalities. So basically, you're externalizing problems, and it's not just losses that they externalize. It's also things like damage to the environment that we clean up. You know, we're the ones going to have to clean that up. The companies aren't going to do it. It's using roads and with trucks and things and feeling like they don't have to pay any taxes. That's externalization of wear and tear on infrastructure. They should be paying taxes to cover this. They're not. And so it's things like that, externalities, where they're basically they're the problems the companies are generating. It's in their best interest to externalize it to everybody else in society as much as possible. And that's a problem. And the only way we're going to get around it is hold them accountable. Anyway, I could go on ages about externalities, but I won't. It's absolutely crass and gross. Yeah, no, I'm terrible with plants. I'm terrible TOMB. I kill plants very easily. I tried my best, and I told them I wasn't good with plants. I've always said I'm not good with plants, but um, it's interesting because I thought I was just helping a friend and I was doing my best kind of thing. And a lot of people said, hey, they're just taking advantage of you. They're just basically using you as somebody to take care of their house while they're away and pay rent while you're doing so. And I mean, I didn't see it like that at the time, but I realize now, yeah, I was being taken advantage of. Yeah. Yeah. Um, Sounds like a short I saw the other day. One more game. I've got work. You sound like a hoe. Well, you sound unemployed. Yeah, okay. Fair enough. Jessica says, man, this stream got really depressing quickly. I'm going to need a palate cleanser after this. Maybe I'll go watch the Karen Reid murder trial. Okay. All right. Look, I don't choose these. They just come up. I don't blame me for this. Uh, yeah, I think it is that we're in a difficult time, and um, it's a time of change, or times of change are always difficult, but all we can do is support changing to a more equitable world instead of a less equitable world. But I think change is coming, no matter where it goes. Where it goes is largely up to everybody in general. Whether it goes towards more authoritarian or it goes towards a more sort of generous liberalism, I think is really up for what's being decided at the moment. And that's up in the air. Who knows how it'll turn out? But I heartily recommend for you to voice out a more generous liberalism that we go towards, a more socially socially dedicated liberalism rather than a more corporate liberalism, is where I would sort of say. 1450 has been the median fast food wages since the pandemic started. Yeah, and that's horrible. That's absolutely horrible. It's not enough to live on. It sucks. Was going through housing assistance, had to give it up in favor of just staying here. Now I've got to start the process over. Well, good luck, mate. Good luck. Good luck. Lol, the rich say, yeah, and it's funny, all the banks being bailed out, that then their CEOs go, oh, we can't get money to poor people. It's just incredible. It's in ever accelerating fact. Yeah, but that's essentially what runaway capitalism does. That the companies that are doing capitalism, they basically use the profits they make to generate more political power within the system. So their profits will basically be transferred into political power through donations and things like that. And then that political power will be used to change the system to provide them with more money. And it's a cyclical, it'll keep feeding into itself. And that's one of the major reasons that a check has to be placed on this unchecked power that money gives you. So that's the government's role in all of this. They're just not doing it. They're just not doing it, you know. So yeah. And they get tax breaks, subsidies, incentives. Criminal. Yeah, yeah. Well, it's not criminal. I mean, that's simply a legal designation. It is immoral, Sterling. It is immoral. Okay, so we've got to separate legal from immoral, and what they're doing is immoral, but it's not illegal. You know, and that's where we've got to separate legality from immoral things. It's absolutely immoral. So yeah, yeah, and they just swapped CEOs. Yep. No, I totally get you. Yeah. But this is where the government has to step in and say, hey, we've got to put a limit on the amount of profit you can make. And, you know, things like monopoly laws, things like environmental laws, things like worker laws, right? Worker protections, minimum wage increases, things like this. And that's the government's role. As well as taxing those companies. And look, I've got some issues with my government over that. There's certain companies that should be, Santos in particular, should be taxed, and they're not being taxed, which is ridiculous considering the amount of money they're making. So yeah, yeah, it might be legal, but it definitely should not be the case, which is a moral statement. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Yeah, but that the reason why it's legal for them to do it is because they have funneled money into the political system, because the political system decides what is legal and illegal, most notably the legislature, which, you know, at the moment in America, it's controlled by the Republicans who make all of, you know, as much money as you want, basically. It makes it all legal. So it is the legislature that you've got to take control of in order to stop them from doing this. But there's some problems there, you know, like the decision of people versus what was it? The one where money counts as free speech, right? I can't remember the name of the court case. People United, I think it was. Um, Citizens United versus FEC. So it was Citizens United. Yeah, thank you, Tilting. Yeah. So yeah, that's yeah, it's a problem. It's definitely a problem. If you want to see that, there's rather an old documentary. If you want to see how it turns out, there is a documentary that they made. I saw it a while ago. I'll probably rewatch it. Called The Corporation. Um, and then I think that they've got a new one, but I haven't seen it. I would like to see that. But if you want to really understand what's going on, there's The Corporation, and it sort of outlines exactly. It's got a lot of very intelligent people. Noam Chomsky makes an appearance. A lot of CEOs make an appearance. It really is a it really is an interesting thing. Now it's free on YouTube, so let me get you a link. So if you want to see something really depressing, and it is depressing, okay, I'm not going to lie to you, it is depressing. There is a link to the documentary The Corporation. I saw it once ages ago, but it kind of talks about the way this system, even CEOs, they can't just change the system. It's about a systemic problem, not about individual. It's important to understand this, right? It is really important to understand this, that it isn't so much like if you're just going to blame a company, you're thinking along the wrong track. Okay, you're really thinking about it wrong. It's not that the corporations themselves, it's the entire system, the way it's been set up and how it's been set up to work that is the problem. Okay, so, you know, there's not good companies and bad companies. It's just companies are designed to work a certain way, and that's how they work. If you want to, watch this documentary. If you're feeling low, don't do it. It outlines everything that's wrong with corporate America specifically, but corporations and multinationals around the world. Um, no, this case affecting US at all often amazes me as American. I don't think. Yeah, no, fair enough. Fair enough. Actually, I forgot to mention as well, our Conservative Party, which was it was um, a coalition between two parties, which was the Liberals, which are the more conservative party of the two parties, major parties in Australia. The Liberals are the more conservative. They more resemble the Democrats, but lately they've been moving towards looking like the Republicans, right? There's been a lot of things that you could kind of say, hey, they're margering along until they got their asses whipped in the last election. And the other one that makes this coalition is something called the Nationals, and they're like country interests. Like they will want farming subsidies and cattle exports and all of this kind of really agricultural stuff that matters to country people. They've split, right? So the only way that the Conservatives in Australia have challenged the more socialist party, which is the Labor Party, is because they have all the country people behind them. And those two parties have split. They got their asses kicked so badly on the last election that they cannot come to agreement on some key points. And they've split, kind of thing, which is insanely huge news. I mean, I don't know how they would possibly challenge the incumbent party without being a coalition. It's beyond me. It's wild. But you know, the um the um the whole corporate MAGA isolationist sort of almost nationalistic sort of ideas of Trump and MAGA have been absolutely destroyed here. Like nobody wants them. Everybody's rejected them to the point where the two parties that make up the Conservatives have decided not even to work together anymore. They cannot agree on this. It's so wild. It is so wild. Oh, you did? Oh, I haven't read the Discord. I was gonna go there afterwards. Thank you, Jess. That's awesome. Yeah, yeah, it's massive news in Australia, but it's just America. The dollar is the de facto currency throughout the world. The petrodollar, more specifically, and um, a lot of the things that happen in the US affect the economy so much that we kind of pay attention, because if America's doing badly, it's kind of everywhere's doing badly, because the onflow of that, it's just it's difficult. If America's doing well, kind of everywhere's doing well. Well, not everywhere, but a lot of its allies and stuff are doing well. So I can understand that. If we have a downturn in Australia, it probably won't affect the US that much, right? But we're in a trade surplus with the US. So essentially, we buy more from the US than we sell to them, right? Like, so, um, we buy a lot of US products. So it's important to us, or it affects us a lot if the US is in a downturn. So yeah. Um, but anyway, apart from that, that's really all I've got to say. If you do feel up to it, the Corporation is a interesting film. It is kind of depressing, but it does tell you a lot about what corporations are. I was actually, when I was in university and we were doing engineering management as one of my units, they suggested this document. I'm not even lying. They basically said, hey, if you are going to be an engineer working in the corporate world, it's important to understand what a corporation is. And the lecturer said this is the best description of a corporation, what they do, what their motivations are, how they are run, and the limitations on how they can change. Because if you're going to work in the corporate world, it really is important to understand what you're working in, right? I'd already seen the documentary before now, but they're right. It's a very accurate description of what a corporation is and how it works, and they explain it very simply. And if you're going to be working in a corporate environment, you've got to understand that people have morals, people have desires and needs and wants and everything like that. Corporations don't, right? They're just a system and a institution designed for essentially one thing, and that is to maximize profit for the shareholders that invest in them. That's essentially what they are. They are a institution designed to make money for the people that invest, and they are legally required to make the maximum amount of profit. And at a surface level, it doesn't seem bad. Like, oh, all right, well, that's what they do. But it gets problematic when there's decisions made, and you might think, oh, well, the CEO is a good guy, but he might not have as much control as you think. Like if the CEO makes a decision based upon morals instead of profitability, that guy's not going to be, or that woman's not going to be a CEO for long, because you've got to be able to maximize the profit. Now you can make moral decisions saying, hey, down the line, this will maximize profit for us because, just say you've got a decision to make whether you're going to, um, you know, dump chemicals or something, right? You can basically make a decision down the line to say, hey, this will affect our, public image if we do this. So let's do the moral thing. You can make that argument as a CEO, but it has to be out of profit, and that's the problem. Oh yeah, the poll. I totally forgot about the poll. Should the poster leave? We've got the poster was correct. And look, I understand where you're coming from with that one. I just lean towards never throw someone out onto the street if there's any way to help it, because it is the worst thing ever, and I have been in that situation, and it's rough. It's rough. It's absolutely rough. But yeah, but thank you for contributing, and thank you for you know I don't know. I don't know, but I guess yeah. I mean, I try to find stuff out. So I don't think a lot of Australians would know what it is either. But then again, a lot of Australians don't know what the difference between welcome to country and acknowledgement of country, for instance. I know that a lot of Australians don't know the difference. So there's a lot that they don't know as well. I don't think it's necessarily an Australian thing. It's more like it's a Mark thing of finding stuff out when I'm curious. Um, but yeah, I don't think tilting other countries don't have exactly the same thing. So um, yeah, it's sort of like this is an American thing, and but multinationals, of course, are a thing. But thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget, if you're feeling down, don't don't go looking for things to make yourself feel worse. Be kind to yourself. If you need a break from news and stuff that's depressing, absolutely take it. Totally understand. If you say, "Hey, your aimbot was depressing the other day. I don't want to watch it." Totally understand. I get you. All absolutely get you. Like, you have to take care of yourself. Don't If you can't support somebody through a hard time, don't don't drown yourself trying. Like, if someone is panicked and they're sinking, don't drown yourself saving them. First rule of life saving: don't drown yourself trying to save someone, because you both don't get out of that situation. Okay, don't do it. Take care of yourself. Be kind to yourself. Say, "Hey, I'd like to. I really want to, but it's okay if I don't, because I can't. I have to survive. It's okay. It's okay." Forgive yourself for that. You can't do it. But be kind to yourself as much as possible. Be kind to others, and I'll see you in the next one. I actually haven't uploaded my new. Hang on a second. I have a new outro. I was very slack on my outros and kind of let it lapse, but I've got a new one. So I will do that one if I can find it. Yeah, there it is. Okay, give me 1 second. God, I was going to do that this morning, and I got caught up watching that legal breakdown kind of thing. I really can. Oh, well, while I'm waiting for that, don't forget to like and subscribe. Look, I said I would get better at that, and I did for 1 week and then got awful as well. Um, so yeah, like, subscribe, share if you thought it was a good time. I will see you tomorrow if you are a member, or the next day if you just want to join me for Fundamentalist Fails. So thank you very much. Do take care, and hopefully, why are you processing? Oh, there we go. Okay. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.